Hello, welcome. Episode 1 of my new podcast. This is probably going to be a multi-part section here. I think most of them will, just because there's so much information on all these cars and vehicles. So we're most likely going to have multi-parts. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to upload. I think I'm going to try to do maybe 2 to 3 times a week. I'm going to upload an episode. Something around that. I guess we'll figure it out as it goes along. But welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here. This is episode 1 of Car Reviews with Saturn Spotter. And if you know me at all from any platform, you'd know. Ooh, my back. Sorry. You know that I'm the Saturn guy. I have the chalkboard Saturn. I have 4 other Saturns that I have purchased that I all own simultaneously, not at separate times. I own them all right now. So of course, we had to start off with the Saturn for episode 1. I wasn't sure if I wanted to, but everybody on Instagram was saying you should definitely start. It has to be a Saturn. It gotta be a Saturn. So we're gonna start with the Saturn S series, and this episode is gonna all be about first gen Saturn S series. There's a lot to learn about these cars. So much detail, information. I'm super excited because there's probably stuff I'm going to learn from this as well that I didn't know before. So I'm super excited. Let's first talk about, I'm trying to get every episode to be 45 minutes to an hour, I think is a good range, because it's a podcast. Usually people listen to a podcast, they want longer episodes. I'm sure some episodes will be a little shorter, maybe around like 30 minutes, but my main goal is around 45 minutes to an hour. I think that's really the best. Also, if the audio just changed, I went inside. I'm not just outside right now, so the audio might sound different. Hopefully it's better. Yeah, I think that's the best way to do this. Let me know through your feedback. There should be a Q&A down at the bottom. You can leave it in there. Let me know recommended times you would prefer. And also, while you're there, leave some cars you'd love for me to talk about. It can be cars. Usually, I'd rather do cars, but I'm down for motorcycles as well. If there's like a plane you really like, I can talk about a plane. I can talk about tractors. This is all just about cars, vehicles, whatever. There's no rules here. I'm super excited. I think this is going to be awesome. I think this is going to be super fun. And I really appreciate you guys being here. So if you haven't already, be sure to go check me out on Instagram at Saturn Spotter. That's where you're going to find all the updates about this podcast, my YouTube channel, everything that I do. I really appreciate your support. And that's the best place you can go to support me. And if you want to, of course. But I really appreciate that. And yeah. Okay, so as I said before, this episode is going to be themed around first generation Saturn S series. Starting at the very beginning, the thing that started it all, to the best car company ever made, which of course is my opinion, which is also kind of a joke opinion, because I know that it's a dead company, and there definitely are companies that made really good cars, and so I don't really have... I have a favorite car and a favorite company, but I don't like hate every other company or not like other cars because I only like one. I mean, I'll see a BMW M3 and I'll be like, dang, that thing looks good. You know, like I can appreciate all cars. I love all cars. Obviously, there's exceptions. Everybody has exceptions. I mean, the new Prius is pretty great, and I like seeing modified versions of like the second gen Prius. The first gen Prius is kind of cool just because the first gen Prius. But like the Prius C, disgusting. Hate it. Absolutely terrible car. I don't think there's many people that are going to disagree with me. Maybe people who have driven them, they might get great gas mileage. Cool, I guess. But so do so many other cars. So, that's up for your interpretation. We'll just see. That's really up to your opinion. But I really just love cars in general. There's not a lot of cars I don't like. There's so many cars. I'll go down the road and be like, dang, that's pretty cool. Or, man, that's an interesting looking car. It's just kind of, I just like cars. I really love almost all of them. I especially love late 80s, early to mid 90s and a little bit of late 90s. General Motors, that's my favorite. So like the older Fords and like the Escorts, older Ford Escorts, stuff like that, Trans Ams. Late 80s, early to mid 90s GM, my favorite. They looked so different. They had very unique, and they were so cool. Like, you could tell that people really thought about what they're doing with the designs and making them different and stand out. Nowadays, arguably, all cars are kind of set on the same pattern of production. They all kind of look the same. There's obviously differences from company to company, but the idea behind every car is pretty much the same. They don't really have much of a difference anymore. Truck to truck, they're usually the same. Like, a lot of the Ford trucks are the exact same thing as the Silverados and Chevys. It's just the interior is a bit different, but they all like perform the same. The engine's different, obviously, because they're different companies, blah blah blah. But if you get down to it, they're pretty much the exact same thing. And it's kind of sad to see, because I loved when everything was different. I loved when you saw one car and you knew for a fact that right there is a Ford, blah 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 blah. Nowadays, you see a set of headlights at night and you're like, is that a Camry? Oh no, it's a Chevy Cruze. Like, they just look the same. Anyway, that's just how I feel. I've really missed when the design in cars was true. Like, you could tell they actually put their heart and what they loved into designing these vehicles. Now it's just, we need to get cars out there that people will pay for so that we can get all their money. And I understand also that safety has updated. So the designs of things have had to change for the sake of safety with accidents and whatnot. I get that. That makes sense. That's understandable. That's reasonable. But at the same time, there are still safe cars that look cool. I mean, that's just the way it is. What's great about this being a podcast is that the whole point of it is literally just for me to ramble on for an hour. And that's something that I do all the time. I have ADHD, so you're probably going to hear me go off trail multiple times throughout any podcast episode I do. But I think that actually helps, because the whole point of a podcast is just to talk for a long time and have people listen to it, which I love podcasts. I really enjoy the Distractable podcast. Hilarious, great podcast. The Donut Media podcast, Past Gas, that's a great podcast. Bad Friends with Andrew Santino and Bobby Lee, funny, hilarious podcast. I enjoy podcasts myself. They're fun. They're nice to listen to, and you want something there, but you want more than just music, I'm sure you understand if you're listening to this. You want something in the background, but you want something to like listen to and understand, not just kind of have like music. Like, if I'm just kind of in a blank space moment, I'll have music on and just have music playing, but you don't really have to think too much. You're just kind of there doing whatever you're doing. But with a podcast, you get to like listen and be like you're a part of the conversation. It's great. I personally really enjoy it. So that's why I wanted to do a podcast. I thought it would be super fun because I love rambling on about nothing all the time. And I think this is a great way to do that while also talking about something I love, which is cars. I love cars. Always have. Always will. Probably. I mean, I'll always love older cars, at least. If it's like 2050, I can't guarantee I'll like the cars, but it is what it is. But what do you say we start talking about the first generation of Saturn S series? Now, I'm also going to bring up some parts, a little bit of second generation for some parts of this, but it's mainly focused on just the basics of what you need to know and a little bit deeper into first generation Saturns. So, the Saturn S series is a family of compact cars from the Saturn Automobile Company of General Motors. Saturn's whole business, I guess, was the fact that they had a no-haggle sales technique. What they pushed was when you went to the dealership, the price you saw on the sticker was the price you were paying. They wouldn't add on a bunch of fees and add on a bunch of stuff. What you saw on the window was what you would pay, which was, in America, revolutionary. It was an amazing thing because everybody knew how much it sucked to buy cars. I didn't. I wasn't alive yet, but everybody at the time knew how much it sucked to buy cars at a dealership, because you go, the price would be like, oh, $7,999, and then you go in and they'd be like, okay, sir, after all your taxes and fees, your total price is $11,999. It's like, where'd all that extra money come from, you know? But Saturn emphasized on what you saw was the price you pay, and that is definitely something that a lot of people love them for. The automobile platform, the Z body, was developed entirely by Saturn. It was shared very little with the rest of General Motors. That is simply, it was a unique body frame for Saturns. I know it was used on the Pontiac Fiero in the 1980s, but they really put it into Saturn, and then Saturn just kept it up until they got remodeled out of the S-Series, which it definitely, I think it made the cars even cooler. It definitely was very unique for an already unique idea. So it was definitely, it was a really cool idea, and I love the way they did it, because working on my Saturn is super easy, especially with the frame. I mean, you can take the door panel off, slap a new door panel on, bam, you fixed whatever was broken. If you had like a cracked door panel or you got in an accident, you could just throw a new door panel on and you're good to go, because part of the door is the frame of the car. It's so cool. I definitely would recommend looking up pictures of it if you haven't seen it before. It's really unique. It's really, really special. Saturn's side panels were made of plastic instead of metal. They were dent resistant, something that remained a selling point for Saturn until just a few years before Saturn was discontinued. Yes, if you didn't know, all of the panels on the Saturn S-Series models, as well as the Ion and the Aura and the View, and pretty much all of them, they were plastic panels. Now, the hood, the roof, and the trunk were metal for structural purposes, but everything else was plastic. You can easily interchange the pieces, like I was just talking about, and it was super easy to do repairs after you got in an accident, or if you, let's say you scratched like a light pole in the parking lot, you could just take that panel off, throw a new one on, you are good to go. Definitely something that I have personally used myself. It's very nice, very easy, very simple. Fixed up my chalkboard car like that, and it looked so much better because it was so easy to do it. It took me an afternoon to change like 3 parts. It was great. The S-Series was marketed from fall of 1990 for the 1991 model year through the end of 2002. Significant design updates were made in 1996, 97, and 2000 for all cars, although nearly every year of the S-Series existence brought some minor changes to the architecture of the car. Each model kept the same plastic body styling through its representative production period. My bad, that's a lot of P's. But yes, they significantly did wow, we're gonna restart. Woo-hoo! Welcome to the podcast, guys. I appreciate you being here. They were generically the same. I'd say the biggest change was from first to second gen, but second to third gen, not many differences. There were slight style upgrades, slight interior upgrades, but most of it was pretty much the same. First gen to second gen was probably the biggest jump for the S-Series. I personally really, really love the way the first gen cars look. They look so good. They're modeled so well. I really love second gen as well. Third gen is probably my least favorite, but that doesn't mean it's bad. I still love third gen. I have 2 third gen models. You can't go wrong with no matter what generation you got, but they were fairly the same from second to third gen. The S-Series debuted for a model year in 91 with the Sport Coupe and Sedan models. Sport Coupe was the SC and the Sedan was SL. SL actually stands for Sedan Level, which I thought was kind of strange how they kind of named them. Like it was Sport Coupe and then Sedan Level, which kind of confused me at first, but then as you learn that the different models, like the SL1, SL2, Sedan Level 1, Sedan Level 2, it kind of makes more sense. It's just different because then it's just Sport Coupe 1 and 2, not Sport Level. So I thought it was interesting. I kind of understand why they did it, but I thought it was definitely a cool idea, way to make it different from the rest of the cars. Because also, all these other cars had names, like the Ford Probe and the Eagle Talon, and then this was the Saturn SL, So it's completely different. Definitely something else to make the car even more unique than it already was. The SC was only available with a dual overhead cam engine, whereas the SL had an option for a single cam or the dual cam. Now the single cam only came in the SL model and the SL1 model. Now you get the dual cam in the SL2. Now the SL, just the base SL, is pretty much the base model. Like there was even special hubcaps you got just for the basiest base model. And the SL1 was power steering, I believe sometimes power windows and locks. I didn't get them, but I think you could choose them with an SL1. And then an SL2 is where you got the twin cam motor. For the 1993 model year, the SC gained a single cam option in addition to the existing dual cam option. The SL and SC families were joined by the SW models with both the SW1 and SW2 choices. So the SC, originally it was just the Saturn SC. I have one that's like that. It's a dual cam, but it's not the SC2. It's just the SC, but you get the dual cam motor. They changed it and they gave a single cam option to the SC. So then you had the SC1, which is a single cam, and the SC2, which is a dual cam. And then they introduced the station wagon, which is SW for station wagon, which could also be Saturn wagon, which is usually what I use it for. But then of course they had SW1 and SW2, single cam and dual cam. The S series altogether used either a single cam LK or L24 or the dual cam LL0 version of the completely original designed by Saturn 1.9 liter engine. SL1s, SC1s, and SW1s were only offered with the MP2 manual transmission and the MP6 automatic, while the SL2, SC2, and SW2 models came with either the MP3 manual or the MP7 automatic. The only difference in each case is the selection of gear ratios. The single cam associated transmission being geared taller for more efficiency, and the dual cam associated transmission having shorter, more closely spaced ratios for performance. As a result, it's not uncommon for enthusiastic owners to swap a tall-geared MP2 manual into a car equipped with a dual-cam engine for better fuel economy on the highway. I have seen that done before. I've spoken to people who have done that. It's definitely interesting. I'm probably not going to mess too much with it, also because I don't have money to spend on a transmission just to swap it just because. If I ever have a transmission go out, I probably would think about doing something similar to that, because my SC and my SL are manual. So they have the... Hold on, give me a second. Yes. We have the MP2 manual because they are SC and SL1. So if my transmission ever went out, I might swap them just for fun. I don't think I'd notice too big of a difference, but you'd also have to locate one, which as time is going on is getting harder and harder to do because these cars are just getting older and older and more of them are getting trashed. I used to be able to find Saturns in the junkyards all the time. Nowadays, the ones around me, I'm genuinely having a harder time, which is really unfortunate because there's still a lot of stuff I need to fix on my cars. There's a lot of stuff I want to replace, and it's getting harder because all the parts are disappearing. So it's really unfortunate, but you will sometimes find people like me who have a bunch of spare parts. I don't have a lot of spare parts, but I find people like me that love Saturns and really appreciate Saturns, so they will collect a lot of spare parts. I know my goal someday is to own a shop, and I want to resell Saturns, I want to repair people's Saturns, I want to collect spare parts so people can buy them from me when they need them. I want to be that Saturn guy that supplies people with what they need and fixes their Saturns for those people that are like me that love them and want to keep them on the road. That's what I would love to do. Anyway, aside from the engine and transmission, the Level 2 models also included 15-inch instead of 14-inch wheels, a correspondingly larger tire size, EVO steering, a rear sway bar, the option of rear disc brakes, which were standard on the 91 and 92 SC, color match bumpers and door handles, and more interior options such as power locks, power windows, a rear defroster, and a sunroof, which was on the SC2. Aside from the wheel size, it was almost impossible to tell one from a 2 externally, except for the SC2s, which had the retractable headlamps throughout the model year 96. Yes, that is correct. The SC2s had pop-up headlights from 91 to 96. After that, they didn't. And that's when all the S series started to look a little bit more similar when that happened, because that was the biggest difference between the SEs was the pop-up headlights. I'd say whenever the second gen SC came around, it definitely kind of fit the S series look a bit more because they all looked a little bit more similar. But you cannot go wrong with pop-up headlights. They are amazing, and I wish we could bring them back. Do you know how cool? There are so many modern cars that would look amazing with pop-up headlights. It'd be so awesome to see like a new Toyota Camry with pop-ups, or even the Prius. Can you imagine if the Prius had pop-up headlights? That'd be so cool. It'd be so sweet. It's so sad that they're gone because apparently they could blind people while they were moving, and it was a whole stupid. It was dumb. We're always going to miss them. Hopefully there'll be some way people can kind of sort of bring them back in some cool fashion, you know? Chevy, or honestly, it'd probably be like a Toyota thing. That's probably like a Toyota or a Honda thing. They'd be the first to do that somehow, but... A redesign beginning with the 99 model year gave the SC a small suicide door, or also called a clamshell door, because it was more like a clamshell than a suicide door, on the driver's side to improve rear seat access. This type of door had previously been used in extended cab pickup trucks, but was an innovation in coupe design. So, you know, you have like an extended cab, but not a 4-door truck. What's it called? A crew cab. Yeah. I'm not amazing with trucks. Is a crew cab the one with 4 seats but 2 doors? Or is that the extended cab? You get what I'm saying. You had to open the driver's door, and then you had that little lever to open the back door. That was more common on trucks, but this was new for a coupe, and it was another thing to just add on to the fact that Saturn was so unique and so special. It just helped add on to it and really improve the innovation that they were showing that they could do. The Level 1 S Series equipped with a manual transmission were among the most fuel-efficient cars available in the U.S. when they were produced, reaching 40 miles per gallon in EPA highway tests at the time. Under today's methods and whatnot, it likely translates to around 36 miles per gallon, which is still really good, and that's not that big of a difference. It's kind of crazy because this is definitely true. Or 5 point. By the way, if you're a Canadian, I know there's probably at least one Canadian out there because I was hanging out with one the other day in Maryland. That would be approximately 6 liters per 100 kilometers. So there you go. But yeah, that is true. I get fantastic gas mileage. I went up to Georgia back in July. It's about a 4-hour drive from where I live. I filled up before I left, the night before. I got all the way there on 1 tank. It was great. I mean, I still had enough gas left to get like a good hour before I had to fill up on the way back. It was great. These cars are amazing on fuel because they're very lightweight considering they're mostly plastic. They're very lightweight. They weigh like 22,000 to 2,500 pounds usually, somewhere in that area. It depends on the model and whatnot, but they're very, very good with gas mileage. I've always really enjoyed that. It's made very easy. It costs me right now with gas prices at about $3. A fill from a quarter of a tank is about $20, and that gets me at least a week, usually more if I don't drive around more. It's really nice. It's usually only about $80 a month on gas, which is a lot cheaper than a lot of people that I know. So now we're going to move on to imports. Now this does dab a little bit into second gen and a little bit of first gen as well. I mean third gen. But I wanted to throw this in here being the first episode. I figured this would be a great time to point this out. just to, throw some knowledge in there. First episode, why not? The Saturns were imported into a few other countries. It wasn't many, and it was not for long. It would be extremely hard to find an example. Taiwan and Japan were the only two Asian countries to import Saturns. From 92 to 96, the first and second generation sedans, plus the first generation coupes, were sold in Taiwan, which is crazy. I actually didn't know that until I was doing research for this podcast and setting up all the information here. I didn't know Taiwan had Saturns. That was news to me. I only knew about the ones that I'm about to say next. I'm not going to spoil it. But that's very cool. From 92 to 96. So they got the first gen to the very beginning of second gen, and then the first gen coupes, which is crazy. I had no clue that Taiwan imported Saturns. That was news to me. I'd love to find one that's been imported. I'm sure it's exactly the same, but it just would be really cool. From 97 to 2001, the second generation versions were sold in right-hand drive to Japan. Now, I knew about this because I almost bought a right-hand drive Saturn and imported it here. I really wanted to. It was a great price, but unfortunately, after doing more research before I bought it, it did turn out that the website was a scam and I would not have gotten the car, so I couldn't buy it, and it's the only one online you can find right now, which is unfortunate because I would love a right-hand drive coupe. I have two right-hand drive wagons, but they aren't imported from Japan. They were made here in the US, and we'll get more into that in the next episode. But I do have two right-hand drive ones myself, but they're not Japanese. Some Toyota Nets dealerships and former Isuzu dealerships also offered Saturn products until 2001, which is super cool. I really would have loved to have been in Japan back in the day, and Saturns were for sale. People were like, this American car brand is sold in Japan, and they made them exclusively right-hand drive for Japan. So cool. I'd love a right-hand drive sedan, honestly. I'd probably like a right-hand drive sedan more than a coupe, just because that'd be so fun, Just imagine driving a right-hand drive Saturn sedan down the road. That'd be so sweet. Man, I'd love to import one someday. They're very, very hard to find, but boy, would it be awesome. I tell you. Anyway, Canada imported all available Saturn models from 1992 onward. This is true. I drove a Saturn that was imported to Canada. I drove a Canadian Saturn the other day in Maryland. It was pretty sick. What can I say? So those were left-hand drive, but they came with kilometer-based speedometers, gauge clusters, whatever you want to call them. I have one in my chalkboard car, but my chalkboard car was not from Canada. I also have one in my right-hand drive wagon, but that was not from Canada or Japan. Which, again, I'll get more into that wagon next episode. I didn't include it in this episode yet. I figured it'd be nice for next episode, but that's, yeah, they're cool. They're definitely cool. Having the kilometers an hour speedometer is fun. I show it to people sometimes, and they're like, "Wow, what? How? Why is it in kilometers?" It's fun. It tracks your miles and kilometers too. So, my miles in my car is currently wrong because I put it in afterwards. But you just need to do a little bit of math, and you'll know how many miles are on the car. It's fun. It's definitely something really cool. So, going deeper into first gen, we got the first gen sedan level Saturn. The first gen SL is one of the cars that I want so bad right now. I want a first gen SL so bad, but the only ones that I'm finding for sale are either in terrible condition or they're automatic, and I really just want a manual one. But I love the way they look. They look so good. That rear window, the way it curves, oh, it's so cool. I love it. I love them. I'm gonna get one someday. Right now, I'm saving up for a bike. I want to get a motorcycle. I know it's not Saturn, but I really would love to ride a motorcycle. So that's kind of what I'm saving up for currently. They're a bit cheaper sometimes than Saturns. That's kind of arguable. Actually, most of the Saturns I bought were cheaper than a motorcycle, but That's what I'm saving up for now. And then I'll end up getting an SL. And then I want a View Redline, but that's not even an S series. So we're not going to talk about that in this episode. The first generation SL was constructed for model years 91 through 95, with the first Saturn rolling off the assembly line in the Spring Hill, Tennessee factory on July 30th, 1990. That is the same day that the CEO of the time of GM, Roger Bonham Smith, retired. So look at that. Saturn rolls off the factory and that dude retires. He's like, we've done perfection. It can't get any better than this. It's time to retire. And I can't say he was necessarily wrong. I have seen pictures of this SL, the first one that ever rolled off the assembly line. It was very beautiful. I believe it was kept in a museum somewhere, and I've heard people saying that they found it like sitting outside somewhere or something, which is a little concerning. I don't know if it's true. I haven't looked into that much. I wouldn't be surprised though, because people do not take care of things very well. But I have seen a picture of it. It was maroon color with a tan interior. It was like definitely an interesting color combination, but it was still really good nonetheless. It was a beautiful car. From 91 to 92, the Saturn SL series sedan trim levels consisted of the SL, the SL1, and the SL2. Now here's more information on each level that I kind of got into earlier, but this is just a more in-depth, kind of like a revisit at some of it. You're going to hear some of the same things as before, but this is just a little bit more information about it. The base SL model featured the MP2 5-speed manual transmission only. It had a manual steering on the exterior. The car featured unique hubcaps different from the SL1 and came equipped with a driver's side exterior mirror. A passenger mirror was a popular dealer installed option. So that's pretty cool. On the inside, the SL featured a standard AM/FM radio with no cassette player and low-grade cloth material on the seats. Some factory options such as power windows, power locks, or cruise control were not available on the SL, but air conditioning and an AM/FM cassette radio were available on the option sheet. The SL1 trim level added power steering, a passenger mirror, different hubcaps for the 14-inch wheels, an AM/FM cassette player, and a softer cloth material on the seats. It featured as standard equipment the same MP2 manual or the MP6 4-speed automatic transmission could be had as an option. The SL1 could be optioned with power windows, power locks, power mirror for the passenger side only, driver's side retained manual control, which I guess they did it to cut costs, so that way you didn't have to reach over the car, but you still had to control the one next to you with your hand. I guess it kind of makes sense. Could have made it a little bit cheaper, also saved a little bit on weight. Cruise control and air conditioning both were offered only with the single cam 1.9 liter i4 LKO engine that produced 85 horsepower. That's a lot, right? Which was rated at 27 miles per gallon city, 34 miles per gallon highway, which is what it was rated at, but as we've learned, you can get a little bit more than that out of it. The SL2 trim level featured the MP3 5-speed manual transmission or the MP7 4-speed automatic transmission, both exclusively with the dual overhead cam. Let's see. The 1.9 liter i4 LLO engine that was rated at 123 horsepower, which was a good step up from 85. 24 miles per gallon in the city and 34 on the highway. The SL2 also brought body color bumpers, which, if you didn't know, the SL1s and the SLs had just a bare plastic. It wasn't really plastic. I don't know. It's plastic, but it's not smooth plastic. Like, you could twist it around. It wouldn't crack or anything like that. It was very soft, textured plastic. And the bumpers were just black. Well, they came from the factory black, but pretty much all of them are just gray now if you haven't treated them with any restoration products. 15-inch steel wheels, alloys were optional, and higher spec cloth on the seats, including the seat back. On the SL and SL1, the seat backs were vinyl. That is true. Mine are vinyl. Of course it's true. Why would it not be? Anyway, SL2s could be optioned with power windows, locks, mirror, which was still the passenger side only, cruise control, air conditioning, sunroof, and leather seats. Anti-lock brakes were available as an option as well, which brought along rear disc brakes. Yeah, so my Saturn does not have ABS. I found that out when it was raining and I had to slam on the brakes and I just slid. I didn't hit anything, but I just down the road. It was great. It was a little scary because I didn't realize I didn't have ABS at the time. That was when I first started driving the car, but it was kind of fun. Honestly, it was kind of fun just sliding. Sometimes I do it on purpose now, but you know, if you're a police officer, you didn't hear that. You have no proof. For the 1995 model year, the seatbelts were changed from the... Oh, right. I forgot to put this in there. So for the first gens, they had those seatbelts where you open the door and it rolls forward down the windowsill, and then you close the door and it goes back with a little motor, goes back and around your shoulder. My SC has them. Both the motors are shot, so they don't work. But luckily, they're stuck in the up position, so I can actually still put my seatbelt on. I thought they were great. I've always loved those. They're always so cool to watch. Like, especially when somebody's getting in your car and they don't know it, so they open the door and the seatbelt just goes forward. One of the coolest things ever invented for cars, if I'm being honest. That's probably slightly behind pop-up headlights, but it's so cool. Like, genius. The only problem is they weren't very safe, and they weren't always the best at actually catching you. Sometimes the seatbelt itself would break and it wouldn't hold you back, which is why they had to stop making them. But boy, were they so cool. But for the 95 model year, the seatbelts were changed from the power passive restraint to the conventional 3-point seatbelt. The interior of the vehicle was redesigned with a new dashboard and the addition of a front passenger airbag. The center console is updated as well, adding previously absent cup holders. That's right, there was no cup holders in the first gens. They just assumed people wouldn't need some water or something while they were drinking. Also, for the 95, the single cam engine was given MPFI to create a 100 horsepower L24 engine. So they got a slight engine upgrade, a little bit quicker, which, I mean, still isn't quick. I have an intake on my chalkboard car, so I get around 105-ish horsepower. It might be more, might be less. I've never dyno tuned it. That's just an estimation. And it's, compared to my Ion Redline, it's very slow. It's fun though, because you get to floor it for like a mile and you're still not speeding. So it's a fun car. It's just not meant for going fast. They're great for going down a mountain though. I went down the tail of the Dragon. I was in neutral the whole way down. It was so fun. I had a fantastic time. The S-Series had a 12.8 gallon fuel tank, which meant that both cars, which was the SC and the SL, got around 384 miles on a single tank, based on the average miles per gallon. That's really good. A lot of cars nowadays will get around 300 if they're lucky, but this was almost 400, which is crazy. Owners of the base model typically reported real-world fuel mileage of about 38 to 41 miles per gallon on the highway with the manual transmission. You really can't get much better than that. That's incredible numbers. Absolutely incredible. Here's where we introduce the first-gen Saturn wagon. For the 1993 model year, a station wagon variant of the SL was added to the model lineup. This was offered in the SW1 and SW2 trim levels. The station wagon used the same doors as the sedan, but the bodywork behind the C-pillar and roof differed. Basically, all they did was take an SL, cut the back of the roof off of it, extend it out, and then just give it a hatchback, pretty much. So everything is exactly the same except for the back, which is kind of crazy. I mean, like, the suspension is different, but you can take a door off an SL and put it on the SW and it'll fit. Like, you take a back door, it'll go right on. It's fantastic. It's so cool. And if you actually have a wagon, you can see where they cut the roof line and added the new one. It's one of the coolest things ever. I think it's awesome. Because instead of redesigning a whole car, they kept that S-Series look by making it the same kind of design and just extending it. I love it. I think it was an awesome idea. The 1990 to 1992 Saturn SC featured a dual-cam 1.9 liter inline-4 engine. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to just stop abruptly. Wow, I completely just skipped the whole thing. This is where we start talking about the first gen Saturn coupe. I did not mean to skip over that. My apologies. My first podcast episode. What can you say? You gotta start somewhere. I'm getting better. The first generation Saturn SC coupes were made from 1990 until 1996. The first generation Saturn coupes were originally only available in the trim level SC, and that was it. That's one of the ones that I have. And I kind of spoke on that before, but I just wanted to add more dates to it and stuff like that. The 1990 to 1992 Saturn SC featured a dual cam 1.9 liter inline 4 engine that was rated at 123 horsepower. So my SC has 123. For the 1993 model year, the original SC Coupe model was renamed as the SC2 and a new SC1 trim level was introduced. For the 94 model year, the SC1 and the SC2 had both gotten revised power door locks and the recalibrated automatic transmission. The first generation SC2 had received a minor refresh in 95, in which the lower front bumper and the vehicle's taillights were both updated. That is true. I actually prefer the pre-facelift model. The facelifted one did get fog lights though, which is pretty cool. I did like that. That there were fog lights. You can put fog lights on the first gen, the pre-facelift, but there's not really a great place to do it with the shape of the front. But I think it looks a little better. I like the pre-facelift more. The 1995 model year, both the SC1 and SC2 had gotten a redesigned interior with a new redesigned dashboard and a front passenger airbag. The first generation SC1 coupe featured a single cam 1.9 liter inline 4 engine that was rated at 85 horsepower. The SC1's engine was later upgraded to the 100 horsepower for the 95 model year. So they did get an engine upgrade for 95 and 96. The first generation Saturn SC1 coupe shared the same fixed headlight as the SL sedans and the station wagons, rather than the pop-up headlight design used in the SC2 and the original SC. The SC1 also lacked a rear trunk lid deflector and a rear stabilizer bar. I know it's the only SC without pop-ups for those first generation, but I really, really love the way that the SC1 looks. It's such a unique style. I absolutely love the way the SC1 looks. It's so eye-catching. The design is so unique, and it looks really cool. Part of me almost thinks it's better without the pop-up headlights, and I know that's kind of... it's hard. It's kind of controversial, because pop-up headlights, I love pop-up headlights, but that SC almost looks better without them. It looks so good with the normal headlights. Now here we talk about the mystery SL3. For the 1994 model year, a highest trim SL3 model was planned. Saturn owners' manuals from this period made mention to the SL3. It would have featured an SC front end on an SL2 body, with all options as standard. And they would replace the 1.9 liter with an inline 6. Now, I think I have one of the owner's manuals. I collected a bunch of owner manuals for Saturn. I'm pretty sure I have one of the ones that mentions the SL3. And I believe I've been told that there's only one picture of the car because they only made one. Now the picture is extremely low quality and you can barely tell what you're looking at. It's hard to tell if it's an edited picture or if it is the original SL3. I so wish that they produced this. An inline 6 pop-up headlight SL? Are you kidding me? That would be like the perfect Saturn. You get the pop-up headlights, you get the sedan, and you get an inline 6. And it would still all be plastic. That thing would have been so fast. That car would have been crazy. I so wish they would have produced it. I've seen people make them themselves, where they take the front end of a first gen and put it on a coupe. I've seen people put it on a wagon. I've seen people put second gen front ends on first gens and third gens front ends on first gen bodies. But just having them produce it from factory with a V6 or an inline 6 would have been so cool. They would have been so fast. Oh man, it's another one of those things where it's like you you so wish they did it. It would have been amazing. I definitely would recommend looking it up if you want to see the picture or if you want more information about it. There isn't a whole lot of information about it other than the description I said, but the picture is interesting and it looks really cool from how blurry it is. Still don't know if it's real. There's somebody that I've talked to who apparently worked with Saturn at the time that it was being talked about or produced, and they said that that picture is real, but I don't know for sure. They also said that they saw it, so I don't know, but it'll forever kind of be a mystery for the Saturn SL3. But God, I wish it was real. I so wish it was real. That'd be like my it's the perfect Saturn. So next we're going to get into special editions for first gen. First gen Saturns only had one special edition to my knowledge, and that is the Homecoming Edition. A special Homecoming Edition of the SL2 was released for the 1994 model year. It had a special pearl white paint. It was a silver tint pearl shared with Cadillac models of that same year of 94. Black Saturn emblems, a spoiler, 15-inch teardrop wheels, anti-lock four-wheel disc brakes, gray cloth interior, which looks really good, by the way, because I have like that beige tan and I'm not a huge fan of it. I like a darker interior. Rear headrest, fog lamps, power locks, windows, and you could also have options with it, which were a sunroof, CD player, and a 4-speed automatic with traction control. Now, that's probably one of the rarest Saturns. Finding a 94 Homecoming Edition, it's probably one of the hardest things you can do as a Saturn collector or just somebody who is an enthusiast of Saturn. That's probably like that is the glory car. Like, if you have a 94 Homecoming Edition, you're that guy. Like, they're beautiful, absolutely stunning cars. I definitely would love to have one. Now I have one more thing here. This episode is going to be a little shorter than an hour, but I think that's okay for a first episode. You know, kind of get the feel for how it's going to work. It's going to be between the time that I was setting. But this is just a little fun fact. The 1995 Saturn SL was the most stolen vehicle in 2003, while the 94 SL took third place in 2003's most stolen vehicle report. According to the Linwood, Washington Police Department, when use of the key wears on the door and ignition mechanisms, a filed blank key can be used to open the door and start the engine. So as these cars got older and people used, because a lot of these cars did not have key fobs. You had to use the key to unlock the door. So over time, over years and years of use, that would wear down all the inside metal. So all you had to do was just use a blank key that was filed down a bit, and you could unlock the door and start the ignition, which is crazy. That was also something new I learned. I did not know that Saturn SLs were the most stolen cars in 2003. See, everyone was just trying to get their hands on one. That's how cool they are. But that's definitely new to me. I had no clue. That's a pretty interesting fact. Probably it's definitely fun. If you know somebody who is really into Saturns, you should tell them that as a fun fact. Ask if they knew that, because I didn't. I don't have a 95 yet. I want to get a 94, I think, if I'm going to get an SL. I'd love to get the Homecoming Edition, but, you know, my goal is to eventually have one of every model. I mean, let's be honest here, that's probably not going to happen, but a man can dream. A man can dream. But that's all I have here for today's episode. A deep dive into the first gen Saturn sedans, coupes, and wagons. I'd love to go more into how Saturn became a thing, but I'd have to see if there's enough to really make an hour-long episode out of it. I'll have to do the research and, you know, put something together. If there is, I'll probably do that soon. It'll probably be an upcoming episode. I don't want to do too much Saturn all at once, though. So I'm not sure if I want to do first gen Saturn and then a different car and then second gen Saturn. Let me know what you think in that Q&A option, or go to my Instagram and give me your opinions as well. I'm most likely to respond there. I don't want to just overflow with Saturn, though, you know? So I think for episode 2, we're going to take a break from Saturns. We're going to go to some other model. I've asked you guys on Instagram what I should do, and I'm going to go through your responses and pick from there. But I sincerely hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. I've had so much fun recording it and talking about it. That was a pretty quick 50 minutes. I tell you, that definitely went by pretty fast. But I enjoyed it. I'm having a really great time. This is so fun. Please be sure to follow me on Spotify and hit those notifications so you don't miss a podcast upload. Or you can do what I do sometimes with podcasts, is like let them collect for a week and then you can just binge listen to all of them. That's so fun. Whatever you prefer, just make sure you don't miss an episode. You're not going to want to. You're going to want to listen to all of them. You'll have a bunch of fun facts you can tell people, and they'll be like, where'd you get all these facts from? And then, I'll let you take, what's the word I'm thinking of? Credit. That's the word. I will let you take credit if you want. You don't even have to say that you got it from me. You can take the credit. Have fun. As long as you come back and share this podcast with your friends. These will be fun for road trips. You can go on a road trip with the family, learn knowledge about cars, because why not? What's up, guys? However many people are listening, I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. I'm going to try to upload, I'm thinking either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Monday, or Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm kind of thinking Tuesday, Thursdays. I think that'll be the best bet, because I don't want to do too many you can't keep up. I think 2 a week is good. And then as we go from there, if people want it, I'll do 3 a week. I'll do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So just let me know. If enough people want a 3rd episode per week, I can make that happen. We got that Q&A down there on the Spotify, or you can go to my Instagram, which is Saturn Spotter, which is exactly how it is in the title of this podcast, and you can send me a message there. That's where I'm most likely to respond anyway. Also, if you ever see a Saturn out on the road or in a parking lot and it is safe to do so, grab a picture of it and put it on your Instagram story and tag me. I will share it on my story, and I always keep it in a little highlight so you can always go back and see it whenever you want. I absolutely love when people tag me in Saturns that they find, because I am the Saturn Spotter. If you didn't know, the kind of reasoning behind that name is because I spot them in the wild. I spot the Saturns. It's kind of like the 7th sense I have. I mean, legitimately, there's times where my brain will just say, hey, look up and look to the right, and I'll do it, and there's just a Saturn there. And I looked for no reason, but somehow I just knew on the inside. It happens all the time. I don't know how to explain it, but I just knew it. I just knew it on the inside. Anyway, I really appreciate your guys' support. The support has been blowing up this past month. It's fantastic. We're getting close to Christmas. I kind of want to do a Christmas time giveaway, whether that be something Saturn related or like a gift card or something. I just want to do a Christmas seed giveaway for all my supporters. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Make sure you follow this podcast. Go follow my Instagram and my YouTube as well, because I will be posting podcast episodes to YouTube. So that way, if you prefer YouTube or you don't use Spotify, you can listen to them there as well. Which, if you use Spotify, well, if you use Spotify and you're listening on Spotify, then that doesn't really apply to you unless you want to listen to it twice and listen to it once on YouTube. There is not video yet, but there will be in future episodes. I'm still getting that set up. That's definitely something I want to do, but I'm unable. Sorry, almost dropped my phone. I'm unable to as of right now, but I'm definitely looking into that. It shouldn't be too much longer, and I'll be able to have like pictures of what I'm talking about up on the screen as I talk about it. So I'm super excited for that. But enjoy the rest of your day, or the rest of your night. Safe travels. I will see you all in the next podcast, or the next video, or the next Instagram post, wherever it is. You keep up. I thank you so much for the support. Goodbye, guys. Don't miss the next episode. You're not going to want to miss it.